Students, welcome back to the strategic management class. We are in the 5th unit. We left out now only few topics. We were discussing about the corporate governance. In the last class, we were discussing about various types of the business organizations, like sole proprietorships would be there, only one owner, and partnerships would be there, two or more persons come together, join together, and they will be doing the business. And if more funds are required, then what happens? The businesses will go to public to raise the funds through the shares. So such a level of businesses, what you call as the corporate businesses. So corporate governance means how to run such kind of businesses, how to administer such kind of businesses. Best examples are Google, Microsoft, isn't it? Amazon, these are all MNC companies according to their different what you call aspects. Now these are the pillars. We discussed about these things in the last class itself, like accountability, fairness, transparency, and as well as the independence. Now today we are going to cover a few of the related topics about the corporate governance. So what are those? The first thing what you are going to discuss is good corporate citizenship. You all very well familiar with this word citizenship. What is citizenship? Citizenship is nothing but the rights and the responsibilities, duties of a person, of a country. Understand? So individually, we are going to have a kind of responsibility, birthrights. When you are belong to a particular country, we are all belonging to India. We have our own responsibilities, rights, individually. But these kinds of responsibilities and as well as the rights, if you are thinking in a broader way, in a wider way, that becomes what you call the corporate citizenship. Understand? Previously, we have discussed that corporate business worlds are very big business worlds. Understand? They are going to showcase the impact and the development of what you call the country itself, the nation itself. So when a business of such a level, such a what you called such a magnitude, when it has been operating, understand, it should give a kind of profits, a kind of what you call the benefits to the people who are what you called related to that particular organization. So directly shareholders would be there, and indirectly the employees, the suppliers, raw material suppliers, understand, the government, whichever making what you call the policies, these are all called what stakeholders. A corporate citizenship is nothing but the corporate worlds which are having the responsibility, the kind of responsibility to give benefits to the society back. Understand? So let us see here what is there. The corporate citizenship is a resultant effect of the global economy. So it's actually a very new discipline. In the 1980s or 90s only, actually the idea for corporate citizenship had been developed. Understand? Because of the globalization of the economy. Understand? What is the globalization of the economy? You all know very well that the companies are moving not only from their what you call local areas to different countries itself. They are doing the businesses, having what you call presence, their presence overall in the globe itself. So what you call this one as globalization. So as in the political sense of human individual, A business is assumed to be a citizen of its operational environment and should, as a matter of fact, owe to some level of active allegiance and the commitment. The corporate citizenship is nothing but the company should have a commitment responsibility about the growth of particular country's people, isn't it? So what a Drucker defines generally, so legal rights and duties of a member of a country. So what is the final point? The corporate identity is a selfness awareness and fundamental of answering the question of who are we and by organizations. So what is the meaning of this? The company should know their identity and they should answer to the people, public, government, isn't it? Why their presence is required. Understand? So such a way identification of their responsibility is called as what to call the corporate citizenship. So how to define corporate citizenship? Good corporate citizenship integrates social, ethical, environmental, economic and philanthropic values. See, so many things are going to be integrated, interrelated. So this word philanthropic is going to be a very you know valuable point. So the activities which should be performed by the company or else what to call the corporate world should benefit to the human core. So what to call these philanthropic activities in the core decision making process of a business. Corporate citizenship has supporters and detractors. Is defined as the act of business taking greater account of its social, environmental, and financial footprints. So altogether, in a single word, what do you mean by corporate citizenship? Is nothing but the responsibility. That's it. So what are the features of a corporate citizenship? It's a universality. As you know very well, based upon the size of the business, based upon the nature of the business, there are different types of businesses out there. Everywhere this corporate citizenship is going to be applicable. Whether the business is of related to pure manufacturing based or else what to call the pure service based, everywhere the corporate citizenship is going to be applicable. So corporate citizenship adopts strategic focus. It's not a short way of what to call getting the results. It is having a tenure, a long-term focus, isn't it? So what do you mean by that? A strategic focus will be there as far as the implication of the corporate citizenship is concerned. So fulfillment of social responsibility. This is a very valid point. So what is the one more feature of the corporate citizenship? It fulfills the social responsibility. For a society, what is important? Economic growth is required. There should not be disturbance to the legal activities, ethical way and philanthropic way. These companies should serve to the society. The corporate citizenship always stakeholder oriented. So there is a difference between shareholder and stakeholder. Shareholders means those persons which are having the share directly in doing the business. But stakeholders means these people are indirectly connected to the operations of the business. Examples are government, customers. How the customers? They are going to purchase the products of the produced. Community, employees, investors, all these are all nothing but the stakeholder oriented. So these companies should concern the welfare of these stakeholders. Global nature. So we already discussed in the 80s, 90s, the companies, widened their wings, started doing businesses not only in one place, spread throughout the globe, throughout the world. Understand what we call this global in nature. So due to the globalization of the businesses, the corporate citizenship has become a what we called a mandatory kind of thing. Understand? So this is a very simple topic. explain about corporate citizenship. So after this we are going to discuss about the environmental change attaining behavioral control. So after understanding about the corporate citizenship, now we are more focusing on the environment, surrounding things which are going to impact on the businesses of what you call the corporate world. Understand? So there are majorly three levels of controls are there. One is called the culture, the second one is called the rewards, and third one is called the boundaries. So behavioral control is emphasized upon the implementation. How come the policies laid down by the companies is going to practically being implemented? What do you call that? Behavioral control. So carrying out, conducting their things to right for effective implementation of strategy, it is quite essential to have three major control levels. What are those? Culture, rewards, and boundaries. So let us see what do you mean by all these things. Culture. Okay. So a culture is nothing but the behavior, the thinking nature, the way the people responds is known as what to call the culture. So every company is going to have a different kind of culture. By looking at the employees, their behavior, their dress code, the way they are what you call responding for any queries, these are all going to define the culture. So based upon the culture, the company is growth oriented or not can be defined. Understand? The next one is the rewards. So always rewards are going to be motivated, whether the people related to the company or non-related. Understand? The company is what you called implementing the policy of rewarding, if at all what you called the things performed by the employees are up to the level of satisfaction, really it is also going to have the impact regarding the behavioral aspects. And the final one is the boundaries. So within the horizon, within the what you call the physical boundaries, where the what you call the policies implementation is required, should be understand. So what you call these the boundaries. So these are all called three major control levels as far as environmental change or attaining behavioral level control of what you call the corporate world. So these we discussed. What are those? Building a strong and effective culture, motivating with rewards and incentives, setting boundaries and as well as the constraints regarding what you call the implementation of the policies as far as behavioral control is concerned. So these are all small topics and very useful. Careful understand. The next one is going to the corporate culture. The beliefs and the behaviors that determine how a company's employees and management interact and handle outside business transactions. Just now we are discussing about the culture. How come a corporate culture can be identified by talking to the employees? The benefits, the turnover, the hiring decisions, treatment of the clients, client satisfaction, and every other aspect of operations. So these things are going to be what you called explain about the corporate culture. So how do we define a corporate culture? Generally the beliefs and behaviors that determine how a company's employees and management interact and handle outside the business transactions. So these are all called some of the features of corporate culture is concerned. The first one is values and principles. So values and principles are nothing but what the set rules and guidelines. So based upon the strong principles and the way the people are evaluating the laid principles, going to set the growth path of the company. Hence the values and principles are going to be more useful features as far as the understanding of the corporate culture is concerned. The company's approach. This is a very, very important feature. How the company is dealing their employees. Because always employees are going to be internal assets. The way the treatment is given to the employees, the way they are involving the employees in the what to call the policy making, and motivating them with various kinds of perks really explains the corporate culture. The spirit and character. So this is a one more wonderful feature which explains the corporate culture. The final one is the external stakeholders. I already told you who are the stakeholders. Like suppliers will be there, employees again would be there, isn't it? Government authorities would be there. So these are all what we call the stakeholders. How the effect are going to be experienced by these stakeholders about what we call the culture of that particular company explains about the corporate culture. So these are the four very, very important features. So what is that? The one is values and principles. Second one, the company's approach. The spirit and character. And the final one is external stakeholders. Right. So these are all different types of corporate cultures. Politicized kind of culture. Generally you find in the companies for decision making, few kind of what you called politics pressure will be there. So because of that, what happens? The decision making will be slowed down. Not only that, the valuable resources are going to be wasted. This should not be happen. So always politicized culture is going to be detrimental as far as the growth of the company is concerned. Change resistant, what to call kind of culture. Change resistant culture. Few companies will be there. They are not at all putting their efforts towards the growth of the external environment. They are always resistant towards what to call implementing the developments, advancements about the what to call outside world is concerned. So because of this nature also going to be what to called showcasing huge impact as far as the development is concerned. So the third type is insular, inwardly focused cultures. Few companies though doing good business, making good profits, sometimes they won't listen to the new ideas, growth what you called policies, whichever what you call given by the outsiders. They are insular, non-respond to the even valuable information also. The fourth type are unethical, greed-driven kind of culture. Sachem company, Enron company. These are all, few kind of companies which did the business what you called with a negative motivation for making what you called the profits at the cost of what you call the investors. So because of that, what happened? Within no time, they faded away from the business worlds. So always in the business, what is required? Ethical way practicing businesses are very, very important. Growth will be slow, but the permanency will be guaranteed. Understand? So these are all called different variety kinds of corporate cultures. Politicized, change resistant, insular, inwardly, unethical, greed driven cultures. The next small topic is smart governance, e-governance. So in present context, if you see, most of the governments, you will be observing these kinds of policies. E-governance. Understand? So through the ICT, information and communication technology, if the government policies are what you called implementing and the changes are going to be adopted is known as the e-governance or the smart governance. Through the smart governance, what will the results are going to be quick. The stakeholder, generally the public, is going to be more beneficial. So e-seva is there, me-seva is there, you are all using that purpose. What to call this? E-governance only. So every time you need not to go to university, you need not to go to what called higher education institution, higher education offices, about inquiry of what you call your fee reimbursement through the e-portals, e-governance, you are having that information very quickly. So what do you mean by e-governance? Nothing but integration of ICT, information and communication technology. What is the one more name for e-governance? Smart governance. So smart governance is about using technology to facilitate and support better planning and decision making. It is about improving democratic processes and transforming the ways that public services are delivered. It includes e-government, the efficiency agenda, and mobile working. It is integration of ICT. So divisional organization structure, these are the pros and consequences. The next one is matrix organization structure. Here the people are, exchanging their ideas with other departments on various roles. So an engineer can work on different areas in order to apply his or her knowledge or experience. So what are the pros? To easily choose individuals by the need of the project, gives more dynamic view of the organization, encourages employees to use their skills in various capacities aside from their original roles. Consequences: presents conflicts between department managers and project managers, can change more frequently than other organizational chart types. Team based organizational structure. Team leader, where do you have these kinds of terminology? Generally in the software companies you find group of people heading by a person, team leader. A team means minimum number of people will exist, hence more managerial skills are not required for such a kind of what we call organization structure. So what are the pros? Increases productivity, performance and transparency by breaking down into silos. Promotes a growth mindset. Changes the traditional career models by getting people to move laterally. Values experience rather than seniority. Requires minimal management. Fits well with agile companies with Scrum or Tiger teams. Goes against many companies' natural inclination of a purely hierarchical structure. Might make promotional paths less clear for employees. So these are all rarely, you know, applicable structures as far as big organizations are concerned, organization wide. But departmentally, these things are going to be very useful. The last one, network organization structures. So your network of people would be there in terms of vendors, subcontractors, freelancers, off-site locations, satellite offices can get confusing. A network organization structure makes sense of the spread of resources. It can also describe an internal structure that focuses more on open communication relationship rather than hierarchy. What are the pros? Visualizes complex web of on-site and off-site relationships in companies. Through this, the companies become more flexible and agile, active. Through network organization structure allows more power to the employees for what you call giving, taking decisions. So it is very easy for employees and as well as the stakeholders to understand the various procedures of what you call the network kind of organizations. But there is a what you call chance these kinds of organizations become more complex, make it more difficult for employees to know who has the final say. And finally, consider the needs of your organization, including company culture that you want to develop, and choose one of these organization structures. So these are the 7 very important organizational structures. Remember that there is no fixed kind of organization structure. It's solely, depends upon the kind of business is going to be done. So today, what we discussed, so different types of organization structures like network organization structure, team-based organization structure, matrix types, divisional organization structures, horizontal types, functional types, hierarchical types. So before that, we came to know e-governance or smart governance, corporate culture, what are the types: politicized, change resistant, insular, inwardly focused cultures, unethical, greed driven cultures. What are the features, values and principles? Company's approach, the spirit and character, external stakeholders. So what are the behavior control elements? Building a strong and effective culture, motivating with rewards and incentives, setting boundaries and constraints. This is the first topic what we discussed. Features of corporate citizenship: universality, adopt strategic focus, stakeholder oriented, global nature. So tomorrow also I'm going to cover a few more topics. Upcoming topics also very small and but very useful as far as your examination is concerned. Most probably tomorrow I'm going to finish your strategic management syllabus. Thank you.